Hello and welcome to Know Your Route, part of the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration School Bus Driver In-Service Safety Series. The purpose of this module is to identify the potential driving hazards that you may encounter on your regular route, to review what you can do to avoid or deal with those hazards, and to learn how to manage driving hazards when the route is not familiar. During carefully planned and timed routes, often you don't have time for surprises. However, as we all know, surprises do happen. One of the easiest ways to avoid route hazards is to really know the route that you're driving. This applies to both regular routes and unfamiliar routes. Regardless of whether it is your regular route or an unfamiliar route, such as a substitute route or a field or activity trip, learn as much as possible about the route you are driving. The more information you have, the better prepared you will be to handle hazards and situations that may arise. First, we want to identify potential route hazards. What do we mean by the term route hazard? A route hazard is anything that could put the school bus or the passengers in jeopardy or danger. Anything unexpected that could pose a threat to school bus safety. Route hazards can be fixed or non-fixed. Fixed route hazards are present every day along the route and are readily identifiable. Non-fixed route hazards are not as common and can occur without warning. Route hazards can also be categorized as driving hazards while operating the school bus over the road, or hazards encountered at school bus stops or other loading/unloading locations. For the purposes of this module, we will be concentrating on the driving hazards over the road. What are some examples of route hazards and situations that can pose a danger or challenge on a route? Examples of fixed hazards are road conditions, which may include narrow lanes, low or non-existent shoulders, potholes, and gravel or dirt roads where braking and traction are degraded. Railroad grade crossings, where you must be able to visually confirm that the tracks are clear of approaching trains. Other factors to consider are the presence or absence of grade crossing controls, as well as the presence or absence of traffic control signals and any interaction between the two. The size of the containment area before and after the tracks is also critical to safety. Dangerous intersections and roadways, which includes uncontrolled intersections, curves and hills with limited sight distance to intersections, and locations with a high frequency of accidents. Bridges, tunnels, underpasses, and overpasses, where critical factors are bridge weight limits, lane width, and clearance heights. Additional examples of fixed route hazards include areas of significant speed difference between vehicles, such as on-off ramps to high-speed roads. Steep downgrades, where brake condition and braking operation are important. Sharp curves, where speed control entering and exiting the curve is vital to maintain vehicle control. Trees and shrubs or other obstructions that block your field of view. Areas of high pedestrian activity. Examples of non-fixed route hazards are inclement weather conditions, such as heavy rain, thunderstorms, tornado warnings, flooding, fog, and snowstorms. Parked or disabled vehicles, including cars, delivery trucks, landscape trucks, trash trucks, moving vans, and emergency vehicles. Animal crossings, as animals have had to adapt to smaller areas of habitat. Downed power lines. And fallen trees or rocks, which can make a route impassable. Additional route hazards include high traffic volume and congestion due to rush hour or accident backup, erratic or aggressive drivers whose actions are not always predictable, new road construction, Jersey walls, which are temporary barriers between traffic lanes and construction activity, and restricted or closed roadways, sunlight, vehicle lights, smoke, or other visual obstruction or impairment. From this list of hazards we have just gone through, you have probably identified several hazards or situations that you must deal with on your own route. Simply knowing your route isn't enough. You need to know how to handle these route hazards. We constantly are faced with hazards and situations on our routes. Some hazards are more serious or dangerous than others. It is important to report these hazards to our supervisors. This allows changes to be made that can mitigate the dangers that are present. What can you do about these hazards? You can handle many of the identified hazards by being a defensive driver. Control your speed and maintain proper following distances and adjust for conditions. For example, decrease speed and increase following distance in wet weather. Regularly check all of your mirrors. Be aware of what is happening all around your bus. Be focused on the task at hand and stay vigilant and cautious. Many times this will allow you to avoid dangerous situations or accidents that would have been caused by another motorist. Some hazards, such as downed power lines, downed trees, flooded roads, or a major accident, can make your route impassable. It may not be possible to continue safely on your route. Notify dispatch of the situation so that support and a solution can be provided. Do not try to proceed when it is unsafe to do so. Now let's talk about severe weather conditions and tornado warnings. If severe weather is encountered while still at the school, take the students into the school and shelter in place until the all clear is given. If you have left the school campus, identify places along the route, such as schools, grocery stores, police, or fire departments, in case you need to evacuate the bus and shelter in place. You will find shelter locations for your route located on the cover page for your route sheet. Remember to report problems along your route to your supervisor. Do not discuss unsafe route situations with parents or students. Instead, refer them to your supervisor. Now let's talk about field and activity trips. These are different trips with different problems. Field and activity trips are different from your regular routes in that they are not familiar to you, and they require some independent decision making. Potential hazards and situations to consider include one-way streets, tolls along the route, low clearance, parking area at stops, food and restroom availability, fueling, weight limit on bridges, and railroad crossings. Particular problems and situations you need to be prepared for include parking and ensuring that the park location is secure, loading and unloading areas, weather, do you have enough chaperones, any discipline issues, medical situations, nighttime driving, directions, possible breakdowns, first aid, and traffic. Now let's talk about ways to avoid route hazards on field and activity trips. You need to anticipate these problems so that you can handle them if they arise. First, become familiar with the route. Look at a map and take it with you, or check an app like Google Maps. Drive the route in a car to the actual field trip if possible. Think about how and where your bus will fit for parking and maneuvering. Find out if there are any detours or closed roads, and plan an alternate route. Also get directions to where you're going. Know where food and rest area stops are located, both along the way and once you get there. Know where the parking is located and that it is secure. Make sure you have a full tank of fuel and have money for any toll roads. When several buses are traveling together, have a lead driver and maintain a safe following distance. Each driver, not just the lead driver, should have directions for the trip destination. Each driver should also have bus numbers and contact information for each of the other drivers on the trip. Communicate with the person in charge of the trip. Get the name of the person in charge and give that person your name, and make sure you both have each other's contact information. Agree on loading and unloading locations and times at both the pickup and the final destination, and reach an understanding as to each other's responsibilities. The driver determines the route and ensures safety. The person in charge controls student behavior. Keep aisles and exits clear. There should be no baggage, equipment, or sleeping passengers blocking the aisles or exits. Review emergency procedures before the trip departure. Not all passengers may be familiar with them. Make sure you have the emergency contact numbers for after-hours trips and know the Fulton County School District policies and procedures. A field activity trip checklist and local policies and procedures handouts have been provided with this course. If you think they would be useful, ask the training department for them. There's a lot to watch for along your route. Remembering the key points of this module should help you deal with both expected and surprising route hazards. In summary, know your route, report problems to your supervisor, anticipate potential hazards, and plan accordingly for field trips or any other unfamiliar route. And stay cautious, focused, and be prepared. Thank you for joining us.